Alright, so this is the story of how I went to a wedding as a guest and somehow ended up babysitting 3 kids I didn't know. It was not the night I planned, but it's one I'll never forget. It started when my cousin invited me to her wedding. It was a big deal, fancy venue, black tie dress code, the whole 9 yards. I don't get to dress up often, so I was actually kind of excited. I spent way too much time picking out an outfit, got a fresh haircut, and even bought new shoes. I was ready to eat good food, drink too much champagne, and maybe even hit the dance floor. The ceremony was beautiful, and the reception was even better. The venue had this big outdoor area with fairy lights and a live band. I was making my rounds, saying hi to family and friends, when I noticed a table in the corner with 3 kids sitting there, looking bored out of their minds. Now, I don't know much about kids, but I know that if they're bored, they'll find something to do, and it's usually something that gets them in trouble. I figured their parents were somewhere nearby, so I didn't think much of it. Fast forward an hour, and I'm standing by the dessert table, debating whether to grab another slice of cake, when I hear a loud crash. Everyone turns to look, and there they are, the 3 kids, standing next to a toppled-over centerpiece. One of them is holding a breadstick like a sword, and the other 2 are giggling like they just pulled off the heist of the century. The bride's mom, my aunt, rushes over, looking stressed. She kneels down, talks to the kids for a minute, and then stands up, scanning the room like she's looking for someone. That's when her eyes land on me. "Hey, could you do me a huge favor?" she asks, walking over. Sure," I say, not knowing what I'm agreeing to. "Can you keep an eye on them for a little while? Their parents had to leave early, and I'm trying to help with the wedding stuff." Before I can say anything, she gives me a grateful smile, pats me on the shoulder, and walks away. So now I'm standing there, holding a plate of cake, with 3 kids staring up at me like I'm their new camp counselor. "Hi," I say awkwardly. "I'm, your babysitter now, I guess?" The oldest, a girl who looks about 10, crosses her arms and says, "We don't need a babysitter." The middle one, a boy who's maybe 7, points at my cake and says, "Can I have that?" The youngest, a little girl around 4, just sticks her finger in her nose. Great start. I decide to take them outside to the garden area, figuring it's safer than letting them roam around inside where they could break something else. On the way out, the 7-year-old grabs a handful of mints from the bar and stuffs them in his pocket. I pretend not to notice. Once we're outside, I try to keep them entertained. "So, what do you guys want to do?" I ask. The oldest shrugs. "I don't know. What do you want to do?" I rack my brain for something fun. Tag? The 7-year-old perks up. "I'm really fast," he says, grinning. "Okay, you're it," I say, tapping him on the shoulder. Big mistake. He takes off like a rocket, and the other 2 immediately follow. I chase after them, realizing too late that I'm in dress shoes and a suit, sprinting through a garden like an idiot. At one point, I trip over a bush and almost eat dirt, but I manage to recover. Eventually, they tire themselves out, and we sit down on a bench. I think I finally got things under control when the 4-year-old looks up at me and says, "I have to pee." "Okay," I say. "Let's go find a bathroom." "No," she says, shaking her head. "I have to pee now." Panic sets in. The bathrooms are back inside, and I know we won't make it in time. I look around, trying to figure out what to do, when the oldest girl says, "Just let her go in the bushes." "Is that allowed?" I ask. "She does it all the time," the girl says, completely unfazed. Before I can decide, the 4-year-old runs over to a bush, pulls up her little dress, and takes care of business. I'm mortified, but the other 2 are laughing like it's the funniest thing they've ever seen. After that, things actually calm down a bit. I tell them a few dumb jokes, we play I Spy, and they start acting like normal, slightly chaotic kids instead of tiny agents of destruction. By the time my aunt comes back to check on us, they're sitting quietly, eating the mints the boy stole from the bar. "You're a lifesaver," she says, giving me a hug. "Thank you so much." "No problem," I say, even though I'm sweating and my shoes are covered in dirt. As soon as she takes the kids inside, I grab a drink and collapse into a chair. Kyle, my cousin, walks over and says, "Dude, what happened to you?" "Long story," I say, taking a big sip. "Let's just say I'm never having kids." So yeah, that's the story of how I went to a wedding, became an accidental babysitter, and learned that kids are way more exhausting than I ever imagined.